Welcome everybody to the Bold Outdoors YouTube channel. Today we find ourselves in windy Wyoming and the new Shock Therapy Level 4 spring kit that I added to this 2018 Polaris RZR XP Turbo. I do have the Walker Evans shocks, and that's what these spring kits are for. Basically everything right now is set up to the Shock Therapy settings. It's basically 2 inches of preload on the rears, 2 1/4 inches preload on the front, right there. Here you have the crossover rings, and they are set to 1 inch on the front. And if this is coming up on camera, it's actually 1 inch from the bottom of here to the top of the slider. Or you can add about 1/2 inch and go to here. So it's 1.5 inches to here, or 1 inch to the top of the slider on the fronts. On the rears, I have it set to 2 3/4 from here to the top of the slider, or it's about not quite 3 inches if you go from the bottom of the slider to the top of the ring right here where the spring sits. It was a pretty easy install, not too bad. I did have to use a spring compressor on the rears. Yeah, the springs are way longer than stock on the rears, so you have to use a spring compressor. I didn't have to on the front, so I was just able to kind of press down on the springs and able to put the this bottom collar on. Not a big deal at all. So far this morning, it definitely rides a lot smoother. It definitely makes a difference. I will say that when you're going along, and I can see why they recommend a stiffer rear sway bar, because as you're going along and you're taking a turn, say you're going to the left, you kind of feel the car kind of dipping. And you're going to the right, you feel it dip. So I can see why they recommend a stiffer rear sway bar. So that takes a little bit of getting used to. Other than that, it does ride a lot smoother. So what I'll do, this is kind of like an initial introduction to these shocks, or the springs I should say. Painted silver, that's how they come in the kit. And what I'll do, we'll cross over into Colorado. There's some more higher speed stuff, so you can see the smoothness of that. And then we'll take 315B. It's a more rockier trail, so we'll see some low speed stuff on that one. And we can kind of compare how it feels. So here we go. Again, this is Bold Outdoors with the Shock Therapy Level 4 Spring Kit on a 2018 Walker Evans Edition Polaris RZR XP Turbo. Let's go. So we'll be coming up on some higher speed stuff here pretty soon, but wanted to do a little bit of a longer introduction, and that these springs really do make a difference. They are kind of pricey. The kit starts at $7.99, but there's discount codes available, and especially if you're part of RZRforums.net, you're able to get that. We'll be riding into the sun here. Dead smooth through there. Usually that's a lot more bumpier. And right there you can see, hitting the brakes, with the old springs you had a lot of front end dive, and with the way the dual rate springs are set up and the crossover ring, that dive is practically eliminated now. Really, really nice. I can't really tell when you're on and off the gas how much the rear end squats compared to the stock OEM springs. It might be the same, if not a little bit stiffer. It's hard to tell. The only biggest difference I can see from OEM to the Shock Therapy springs is when you're taking a corner, you do feel that rear end kind of dip back That's the only way I can really describe it. No doubt a stiffer sway bar would help eliminate that. However, a stiffer rear sway bar would also make it a little bit more harsher in rocky stuff and say rock crawling. So kind of two in one hand, one in the other, I guess. So like here, you can feel it. You feel it dipping back. But right there, hitting the brakes. The dive is really, really nice. Well controlled. So next we'll pick up on Trail 315B, which is a rockier section in the area, and we'll see how the low speed behavior is of these springs. So let's pick it up there. So here on Trail 315B, we'll find ourselves finding some more rocky sections, and yeah, it does feel smoother. Not that that was a hardcore test by any means, but I basically just present these videos and you kind of make a judgment on your own, I suppose. You know what? I am impressed. It's definitely riding a lot more level through that that section there. Now there's this section. Oh yeah, for sure. Those springs definitely make a difference. Yep. I'll add that my shocks are set midway on the adjustment. I've always wondered about that damn thing. It's so weird, a big pile of rocks in the middle of nowhere. Oh well, it's gotta be natural. Anyway, the shocks are set halfway, so I can definitely play with the rear shocks, maybe stiffen them up for the cornering, and I could possibly soften the fronts up. I may not do anything with the fronts. I like the way the behavior is right now, with the way it glides over the rocks and then the front end dive on hard braking. I can't see. It's rapidly warming up. Nice. Should be 70 degrees today. Today's Saturday. It's supposed to snow Tuesday. Oh yeah. Miss being in the RZR. Been on vacation in New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, so that was nice, but it's nice to be in the RZR too. Rain X on the old new windshield. Yeah, I think I'm gonna ditch the coat here. I'll pick it back up on the main trail and give a conclusion and overall thoughts. So here we find ourselves back on the main trail. This is 315. Man, there are a crap ton of hunters out this weekend. Probably should have worn more orange, but I'm not really venturing off the trail much, so I'm not too worried about it. But overall, my feelings and conclusion on these springs is they're well worth it. The price tag is a little steep, for sure. But to increase your ride quality that much, it's definitely worth it. I'll spend some time to fine-tune the crossovers and also the shock settings. Right now I stiffen up the rear shocks 3 clicks, so it might have helped a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell, but man, is it bright out today. It's nice to be back in Colorado. Vermont does feel quite a bit like Colorado, just with a more dense forest, but there's nothing like being home as well. As you can see, a lot of snow, even though it's been in the 60s and 70s for a couple weeks around here. So overall, I give these springs a thumbs up. If you have the funds and you're kind of on the fence about whether or not to do it, just do it. You will like it and you will enjoy it, no doubt. The install is super easy. Do not go off of the instructions off the website. Those settings are way off. Go off of the YouTube video that Shock Therapy has, and I'll link it down below. Their settings on there are perfect. Whereas online, if you go with the PDF or whatever it is, the instruction manual, the settings are way off. Not even close. And like I said, I use the stock settings that Shock Therapy gives. And so far, I really like it. And the preload, as I said, was 2 1/4 in the front, 2 inches in the rear. And with the 32-inch tires, I'm sitting at 15.5 inches of ground clearance front and rear, which is pretty much where I want it. I always like the machine to sit level. I know a lot of guys kind of set it up with a little bit of a squat to it, but it's not really how I do it. I either set it level or a little bit of a rake, a little bit, hike the rear end a little bit up. My thinking on that is, when you give it gas, the rear end squats. That way, if you have a little bit of rake and it squats, it's going to level out. So this has been Josh with Bolo Outdoors. Thank you for coming along on this initial review of the Shock Therapy Level 4 Spring Kit. If you like what I do, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And I'll catch you next time. Again, Bold Outdoors. Peace.